wonder if you mute your mic.
It's now unmuted.
All right. I don't have any.
Can you not hear me at all?
No. Oh wait, there it goes.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess you just can't monitor unless it's not recording, which seems weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's bizarre.
You gonna do the quality on this?
Yeah. Hello?
It doesn't work. Only listen to yourself, obviously. I'm 20 feet away from things. Which one's it playing?
Seems good.
Yeah.
It's way better than last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello! Yeah.
Are you going to be sitting over there or over here?
I'll be with you.
Okay. So, do you want to talk about what we're going to say?
Yeah.
I was thinking of asking him about a few things.
You want to mute now.
Oh, yeah.
Who the hell are you? I thought we were doing someone from the Atlantic. believe this is what?
What did he say exactly? He said it was made for moments like Donald Trump's presidency.
Can we ask him what that means?
Yeah, I think so. That's a good idea.
We say the Atlantic was made for moments like Donald Trump's presidency.
Yeah.
Where do you say that?
The Huffington Post. Right after he hired Frank Flair.
Frank Flair?
I guess his name's
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you say that?
I don't know how you say it. I think it's Foer or Foyer.
Like Jonathan Safran?
Yeah.
Flair?
Foer. Foer? Okay.
By, what's that guy's name?
The guy who did Mambo number 5?
No,
You're
you're on. Wait, do that again?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What's his name? The actor, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, what about him?
He's like a production studio called Hit Record.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is it for movies?
They actually do a lot of weird, like, I don't know if I'd call it like, you know, like the art where like people just do weird stuff and then that's art.
Oh, like abstract art?
No, like live art.
Oh, like performance art.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
That's cool.
They do a lot of stuff like that.
Huh.
I think he also funds indie.
That's cool.
They'll actually record this now.
My mic's on.
Mike's my middle name.
You believe this, Mike?
love eating that giant. It's so gross.
What did you have?
I had a tuna sub from Publix, but like the full size one, like the foot long and a bag of jalapeno potato chips.
That sounds awesome.
I feel gross. I feel like I've just like wandered out into the field and eaten after the first frozen animal carcass.
Gross. Dude.
I saw this thing on Reddit the other day. Apparently, some laptops, like these card slots, have rulers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this one does not.
What are the rulers for?
I don't know.
Just like an extra thing that they decided to add?
Yeah, they were like, well, you know, we have to put a piece of plastic in here anyway for the people who aren't using the slot.
So it might as well.
Let's make it useful.
Yeah. Suggestion, Mambo number 5 is our new intro.
I'm gonna have to go.
Hard no.
Yeah. They did a. Have you seen those Facebook videos where they show like 90s stuff to kids and they're like, you know what this is?
Yeah.
They have one with a bunch of 90s music, and that was one of the songs. And like 2 kids knew it.
That's funny.
It's like I can't even think of who that is by.
Yeah. Who is it by?
On the tip of my tongue.
It's by Lou Bega.
Right, yeah. But they also had easy stuff. Like the very first song was Marilyn Manson.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mambo number 5.
And then they have like Genie in a Bottle. It's like,
Oh, Christina Aguilera.
everyone knows these songs.
Yeah.
But they had Macy Gray. I Try to Say Goodbye.
I stumble.
Cried. Yeah.
I try to walk away.
It's funny because out of all the songs, nobody knew that song. But out of all the songs they didn't know, they were all like, yeah, this is good. Like it was like kind of a joke song. Everyone was like, come on. Her voice is so weird.
Yeah.
What time is it?
It is 2:04.
Ever considered like going dark, fighting fake news, moving to Lithuania?
Why would you even ask me that while my mic's on? And this is being broadcast to the entire internet.
I mean, you could just say no.
No, I would never.
Well, your answer is more suspicious
You're right.
than my question.
No, I would never go dark. Turn to the dark side and become a fake news entrepreneur.
I don't think that's even a legitimate question. Like, nobody is considering that.
Well, some people are. Some people in Russia.
Those weren't actually journalists, though, right? They were just like kids
Oh, that's
looking
true.
for ways to find money.
Yeah.
And they initially were publishing like liberal news,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then found out conservative stuff made more money.
Yeah.
More people clicked on it.
But if a journalist did go dark, you know, they would probably do really well.
They'd be really good at it.
Yeah.
I bet I could write some great fake news. I mean, there's like a legitimate way to do it too, right? Like The Onion.
Yeah,
It's
like
like-
satirical news.
Yeah.
He's probably dealing with some kind of like important thing.
Jared Kushner put an offer in on the Atlantic. There's some interesting stuff coming out of Politico about like the infighting.
Between the Kushner tribes.
According to them, he was the one who brokered the deal with that Trump would meet with the Mexican president.
Oh,
And so when Trump tweeted like, you know, if you're not going to build the wall, then we might as well cancel the meeting. And then he did. Like,
Kushner was really upset.
I think I read this in Politica, and I feel like a bad news consumer for saying that. But
Hey,
Hey, Ben, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Can I ask him if I can make 1 minute?
Can we just take one more minute? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
we were
great.
just talking about, he's probably putting a crisis out or something.
Yeah, he was just coming back from another meeting and has to just run real
Yeah.
quick. We'll be back in a second.
Okay, great.
And then I don't have my headphones in, but I will plug them in for Jeff to use so that it's a little clearer.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great.
Great.
I just heard the whoosh of an email.
Oh, sorry. Let me figure out what
No.
I can do. I'll just close my email.
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't do that. And you're thinking like 20 minutes or so?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. You doing okay?
Yeah, how about you?
Yeah, it's a busy day so far for us.
Yeah, totally.
Lots of news, but I bet it's the same on your end.
Yeah. Yep. I saw, I didn't get to read it in full, but I saw your piece about the New Yorker's digital strategy, which was really interesting. And I know it just, have you guys written about the Jerry Baker email, note to staff about Muslim majority?
We were gonna, but we had this to get ready for, so we decided,
Yeah. Right.
Everybody else is already covering it. Let's just aggregate, or let's just curate it and move on,
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting. I was sending that around today.
Yeah.
I know there's no shortage of news.
I don't know. I mean, I'm of two minds. On one hand, I don't know why newsroom bosses put anything in writing, but on the other hand, like, I applaud it as a media reporter, and I also feel like at some level you have to tell your staff what's going on.
Yep, totally. Okay, so Jeff's here.
Hi.
Do you mind using my headphones?
No, I don't care. One big family, aren't we?
Right?
We share diseases, ear diseases. So who am I talking to, and why am I talking? Sorry, I'm a little tied up today.
The Pointer Covering 45 podcast.
Oh, okay, cool. Hi.
About,
Anything you can say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
It's been true my entire life.
Should we
Wait,
just
who's
get
on the line with me? Who's doing this?
Oh, sorry. My name is Ben Mullen. I'm the managing editor here.
Hi, Ben.
I'm a producer at Pointer.
Okay. Hi.
And we have tons of questions for you.
Okay. Can you see? We're doing this is audio, right? We're not doing video.
Right.
Yeah, it's just audio.
All right, because I dressed like a slob today because I thought it was audio. I'm glad.
If this was a video interview, we'd have to show our faces, which, believe me, no one wants.
We do a podcast for.
You have a face maker podcasts? Is that right?
Right. So how you doing?
I'm fine. Fine. Sorry, I'm multitasking. I'm stopping. I'm unitasking now. I'm ready. Are you hearing?
Okay.
Is this good? Is this working?
Yeah,
sounds great.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, no, it's great.
Okay.
I just love modern technology.
Put his phone down.
Who?
Never mind.
What?
I'm just joking.
What?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So you're gonna tape and then cut this and edit it, right? Or you're just doing it? We're just doing live to tape.
It's just going to be your answers, and it'll be spliced in with different questions than we actually asked. So it's just going to be unintelligible.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Okay. So you guys are on a little bit of a run right now, it seems like.
Yeah, I think we're on a little bit of a run. I think I would not disagree with you.
So for those who haven't read it yet, David Frum wrote a piece, and it sort of paints an alternate reality in which Trump has just won re-election, and it presents sort of a Darth Sidious type figure, I think it's fair to say. We don't reality. That's true.
You're
That's
going
true.
there. I'm not going there.
But he's sort of stooped and leaning on Ivanka, and he sort of describes this climate in which, there's been sort of a chilling effect on the media and on, Democratic resistance. And he sort of triumphed over the business leaders. And it was such an interesting way to open an Atlantic piece with sort of alternate reality. And I wonder if you could talk first of all about sort of the decision to frame it that way, and then also, as I understand it, it was kind of an unconventional piece in the way that you guys published it, right?
Yeah, well, the framing was David's idea. We are a writer-driven magazine. I was a writer here for most of my time here, and I'm thankful that I was until 3 months ago, till I became the editor. I was very thankful that it was a writers-driven magazine. Now I'm not so sure. But David had this notion, and I thought the notion underlying the schematic was really interesting, which is that this is not a situation. Let's say the worst case situation concerning Trump. The worst case scenario is not. It's not going to be brown shirts marching through the streets. It's just the slow degradation of American institutions and norms. And I think that's what he was trying to illustrate. And narrowly wary of the speculative lead. You know, the sort of it's 2030, and that it's because it's an impossible thing to get right. On the other hand, I think David did a really good job. This is why I wanted the piece on the cover. Does a really compelling job of argument from inauguration day to 4 years out, and makes a compelling argument for a certain pathway that Donald Trump and the people around him could achieve the things that David outlines in the piece. I don't want to give away the whole piece, obviously. I want people to go read it, but makes the compelling argument that if the citizenry, if Congress, if the institutions of American life don't pay attention, then we would see, I guess you would call it the banana republicification. I just made that up. I don't know. That's obviously not a word. But there was a moment when I was reading his draft that I thought, oh, I really get it. Where he said he describes a set of circumstances that could obtain in America in the coming years, and said if this was happening in Honduras, we would have a name for it. But since it had not happened, since it's happening here, we're baffled. And I thought that was a very, very key point. In terms of the publication, we're always in this strange position at the Atlantic because we run at all speeds at once. So we have a magazine with a long production lead time. It comes out 10 times a year, and it's where we do a good deal of our biggest thinking, or however you want to frame it. And of course, we like to hold the pieces as late as possible until the subscribers get them at home first. But it seemed over this past weekend, I shot an email to people Sunday night or Sunday afternoon while the immigration battle is going on, the executive order battle is going on. And I shot an email to a bunch of people here and said, I don't know, it seems like this story would fill a need for people right now in the country. And we had this back and forth. We weren't supposed to release it for another week and a half. And it just seemed like we're in and again, I am personally not much into the hyperbole of the moment. I don't want to say we're in a national emergency, but it seemed as if people are having discussions about things that we didn't think people would be having discussions about in 2017. Autocracy, authoritarianism, the violation of norms. And it just seemed like we should I don't want to get into an argument with the news cycle. The news cycle is the news cycle, and this piece slots very nicely into the news cycle. And I think people needed it. And actually, people did need it because it's doing incredible levels of audience in the time that it's been up.
Did you wrestle with that word, autocracy? Did you have any qualms about publishing it? Because that's quite a it's, I don't want to say extreme, but it's quite a thing to say.
Yeah, but I mean, remember he's not arguing that today in America we are living in an autocratic state. He's saying that if we don't do X, Y, or Z, or if the president does X, Y, or Z, we could find ourselves living in an autocratic state. I think it's a big difference.
Yeah. So it's an interesting position to be in because, Steve Bannon's out there saying that the press is the opposition party. And when you're publishing this, do you worry that you're sort of making a case for him, or does the benefit outweigh the potential harm there?
I don't really care what he says about the press. We're just going to continue to do our jobs, and we're going to double down on doing what we do well. Of course, he's going to call us the opposition party. Of course, he's going to work the refs. By the way, this is not the first time that someone in a White House has been critical of the way the press covers them. Their language is blunter. Their message is blunter than other people. But the tension between a White House and the press is not that dramatic, it's not entirely novel for this moment. But at a certain point, you gotta shut out this kind of noise and say to your staff, to your editors and writers, tell the truth as best as you can. Make sure your facts are straight, arguments in reality, and go forward. I can't second guess, third guess. I can't do any of that because certain figures in the White House are arguing that we're in the opposition. And I've told, by the way, I'm very careful about this. I've told our staff repeatedly. I said fairness requires us to call it straight, and if the Trump administration has victories, political victories or other victories, we credit with them with those victories. If they do something that we think is right, we have to credit them and say they did something right. I think a lot of people are losing their journalistic composure in this moment, and I don't want the Atlantic, which is a big tent. I mean, we have conservatives, we have liberals, we have all kinds of varieties of people. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose our journalistic composure. I don't want to be closed off to streams of thought because I'm angry about something that somebody said in the White House.
Yeah, I mean, Julia Ioffe had a great piece recently that basically recounted her experience coming to the U.S. as a refugee.
Yeah,
and that was an unusual way to tackle this big breaking story that everyone is sort of trying to grab a hold of, but it's also sort of a story that I feel only she could have written because it's sort of in her perspective. I wonder how you balance that sort of voicier, perspective-driven type reporting with stuff that's more of what I would call the from piece, which is more sort of like reported analytical type stuff.
Yeah, let a thousand flowers bloom. We're not bound by categories here, and I'm happy to. I mean, I assigned that piece to Julia a couple of days ago. I mean, I emailed her and said, "You're a refugee. Tell us what it's like to be a refugee." Simple thing to ask. She did it very eloquently. I'm asking people to do straight write-ups of the Supreme Court nomination process at the same time. I'm not bound here by too much bureaucracy or too much in the way of hidebound thinking. Remember, we're 160 years old as a print magazine. We're only a few years old as sort of an ongoing digital concern, and so we're constantly inventing new ways of doing things. So I can keep 4 or 5 different forms in my head at once, and I think we make it clear to readers what they're getting, and I'm always looking for ways to make it even more clear to readers what they're getting and how we're delivering it.
Yeah, a good story is a good story, sort of no matter where it comes from.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I think it's more interesting I think it's interesting when you have somebody on your staff who came to America as a child refugee. Why wouldn't I ask?
Yeah.
In December, in a Huffington Post article right after you hired Frank Foer, you said that the Atlantic was made for moments like Donald Trump's presidency.
Yeah. Right, I lost you for a second.
What did you mean by that? Could you say more about that?
Sure. Well, so there's a generic response and a specifically Atlantic response to that. The generic response is news organizations, news and analytic organizations like the Atlantic are made for moments of high intensity in current affairs. So dramatic things are happening. That's what we're supposed to be here for, to tell those stories and interpret it for our readers. For the Atlantic, in particular, look, the Atlantic was founded in 1857 to achieve two things: one, abolish slavery, and two, to maintain the unity of the United States.
You just did the first, so congratulations.
Yeah. It wasn't just. Needless to say, it wasn't just the Atlantic. Look, I'm taking credit for something that people who died 150 years ago did, but it is true. I have to say that Abraham Lincoln was quoted once as saying that a favorable article in the Atlantic can save him 7 or 8 battles, and I always hold that out to our staff as, look, you want to be influential? Here's a good model. When the president of the United States said you've just saved him 7 or 8 battles, that's a kind of a high watermark for influence. But we were founded to do those things. We were founded as a big tent. The Manifesto of the Atlantic, which was signed by people like Ralph Waldo Emerson, Herman Melville, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Harriet Beecher Stowe, they very specifically wanted this place to be of no party or clique. It's not a partisan organization, but it's a pro-American organization. They meant it to be the magazine of the American idea. And what I meant when I said that right after the election was that this is the town square for people who want to debate what it means to be America, what it means to be American, what it means to play a role in the world that America has played for 70, 80 years now. And so my charge to people was get to work explaining why this is happening, what it means for ourselves, what it means for the rest of the world. I thought that it was in moments of fracturing and high tension, that's where you want the Atlantic to come in with its analytical and intellectual heft, and help explain what's going on.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, Lincoln was operating in a different. It's a dumb lead into the question, but I promise I'm going to go someplace interesting.
No, he was tweeting, but he used an alias.
So now
Abe Springfield 88888124.
So, do you think? I guess the tidier version of my question is: do you think any single news organization can wield that kind of influence in today's climate?
No, I'm not going to argue that the Atlantic is more powerful now than it was in 1862 when Lincoln was reading it. Nathaniel Hawthorne was our Civil War correspondent. That's kind of cool. You guys there?
Yeah.
Lost you. Okay, sorry. Yeah, no, something went. So I'll repeat it so you get the whole answer. Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to argue that we're more influential now than we were in 1862 when Abraham Lincoln was using the Atlantic to advance the cause of the Union, and when Nathaniel Hawthorne was our war correspondent. But I would say that this is one of the interesting moments in journalism of organizations like this. In 160 years, the Atlantic has never had this many readers. If you look across all of our platforms, you look across our video platform, which gets millions of views, you look at our live events and certainly digital, where we're doing 30 million plus uniques a month, print subscriptions that are even higher. We're reaching more people than we've ever reached before, tens of millions. And so I think it's for the Atlantic. I believe that the scarcest commodity in journalism right now is quality, and we're one of the handful of places that is pursuing quality and is maintaining our standards and actually trying to grow our standards, and raise our standards constantly. And so I think this is a glorious moment. Obviously, the business climate, the advertising climate, the general media climate is uncertain and fraught, but just in terms of ability to influence, this is a golden period.
Yeah. One of the things that you said about doing to sort of ramp up, I think, after the election was you went out and you hired a bunch of folks. You hired Kay Coppins, Rosie Gray, Julie Ioffe, Frank Foer. I'm probably forgetting some people, but what can you talk a little bit about? I mean, it's interesting choices. You went to BuzzFeed. You went to and you went to sort of the magazine world. I'm wondering what you were looking for and why you hired the people you hired.
Well, I was looking at specific people. I wasn't looking at types. I've admired Rosie and McKay for a while. I mean, it's a short while because they're like both 12 years old still. But I followed them since they were, baby journalists 6 or 8 years ago, and I love their smarts and their metabolism and their just dogged pursuit of news. I want the Atlantic to break more and more news, as well as analyze the news. So those are obvious. Frank is one of the great magazine editors and writers of his generation. That was easy. Julia is a beautiful writer and has an expertise in an area that's only become more and more relevant since I hired her Russia, obviously. I never, not that I have a philosophy of this, but if I had a philosophy of this, I would never hire someone to cover a specific beat. I want the whole person, and I want them for their career. So I look at people who are multi-tool players. I look at people who can do long and short. They can go fast and slow. They can go on TV. They can do podcasts. They can do radio. I'm looking for people who have all of the tools, and all of those people have the tools. Obviously, right after the election, a lot of people around Washington, New York, elsewhere, realized that you just have to staff up because these guys. Well, and the first couple of weeks of the Trump administration has proven it. One thing you knew right at the beginning, right after the election, was that these guys are going to make a lot of news, and just need a lot of hands. You need a lot of people on it, and of course, and I can tell you empirically, because I watch our audience and where it's coming from and what they're interested in. There's an insatiable demand out there in the public for the stuff that we're doing, and I just want to do more, better, faster, and so I needed a lot of hands for that.
Yeah. Look, I know we're running against time. I just want to ask
Sure.
one question, which is, what do you think journalists should be doing? There's been a as you know, a huge debate over the role of the White House briefing room and the sort of journalism that we should be practicing under a Trump administration. What do you tell your staff, and what would you tell journalists elsewhere?
You mean in terms of arguing with the White House about the or about what? Help me out understand the question a little bit.
How do you what is important to you?
This is the thing about this moment, and I've heard these conversations. And I understand that there's certain aspects of what's going on now that are novel and unusual. I covered the presidency. I know that this is pretty different from covering the Bush White House or the Obama White House. But I have to say this about journalism: the rules pertain. Like, you have to have the same priorities, you have to have the same commitments, and you have to do the same work. You have to hold. You've got to embrace the idea that we're going to have a fact-based discourse in America. Yeah, it's true. We are in a little bit of a knife fight with people who don't want to have a fact-based discourse, but you just have to stand for what you've always stood for, and you've got to do the work that you've always done, and you've got to do it better and harder. Obviously, one thing that we have to do is understand the parts of America that we seem not to understand very well, and that's another mission. There's a lot to do, but again, it's not entirely novel. You want to pursue the truth. You want to be fair. You want to make sure that you have your facts correct. You especially want to make sure your facts are correct because this is a merciless environment for even even honest mistakes. And of course, honest mistakes occur all the time in a fast-moving news environment. But you really have to double down on that, and you have to constantly interrogate yourself and disrupt your own thinking about the way the world is organized, and try to understand why so many people voted for Donald Trump, why the country is fracturing the way it's fracturing. But you can't stray too far from the notion that the job is to write about what's happening in the fairest way possible.
Right. Well, we'll be reading. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time, and good luck out there.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.